Wait.
Hi everyone, welcome to our special Google Hangout today with McDonald, Global President of Ellevate. My name is Marisela Herrera. I am the Director of Membership for Ellevate, and I wanted to kick off today's session by welcoming all of you and thanking everyone for being a part of Giving Tuesday. This session and Ellevate's involvement in Giving Tuesday has been months in the making, and we're proud to be supporting such a wonderful mission and sharing information with you today on how to increase the impact you have on the world. Special thanks goes out to our friends at the 92Y and the UN Foundation for inviting us to participate in Giving Tuesday and for making this Google Hangout happen. Finally, I know we're on Google Plus right now, but we'll also be live tweeting this session throughout Allie's talk. So if you're on Twitter, be sure to join the conversation in that way too by using the hashtag Giving Tuesday, hashtag Invest in Women, and have fun. Hope you learned a lot today. Now I'm passing this on to Allie to tell you more about Ellevate and get this Google Hangout started.
Great, thanks Maricela, and hello everyone and happy Giving Tuesday. It is my pleasure to be here with you all today and talk about 10 tips for being a more effective giver. Actually, as I was going through my thoughts and presentations, I hope you'll get more than 10 tips out of today's presentation, but I've organized the talk into 10 tips. But before I get into that, I thought I would share with you, those of you that have signed in today that aren't familiar with Ellevate Network, give you a little bit of a background on who we are. Formerly known as 85 Broads, we are the largest cross-industry global professional women's networking organization. We currently have over 40 chapters in major cities around the world and tens of thousands of great professional women that call themselves our members. Our mission is the economic engagement and empowerment of women and girls, and we focus, and oftentimes you'll see us tweeting with our hashtag Invest in Women, because we believe that our women join our network to invest in themselves and invest in the other women in the network. So one of the things we do is we focus on getting together in events in major cities. We have great content via our website and weekly newsletter, and we also have what are called jam sessions. And today is kind of an example of a jam session that we have, and we have them oftentimes twice a week at 12 noon, where people can dial in and find out about interesting topics that our members have expertise in. So that's a little bit about Ellevate Network. Be sure to check us out at ellevatenetwork.com, and the Ellevate, by the way, is E-L-L-E. So that's us. And why am I here today as global president of a women's network to talk to you about effective giving? Well, I have a little bit of experience in giving. I worked at organizations that focused on philanthropy and planned giving and donor-advised funds and private foundations. I also worked for a nonprofit, the Clinton Foundation, actually, for a year. I also focus on social enterprise and impact investing in my career and in my background. So what I want to do today is share with you some of the tips that I use and some of the best tips that I've picked up at my various stops along my my career. And so the first, I'm gonna try to load a presentation up here. We'll see. I'm also technologically challenged, so bear with me. And here we go. Okay, so there you see I hope you all see our holding slide for Giving Tuesday and 10 tips for more effective giving. The first few tips, so actually I wanted to first thank everyone and thank you for caring, because this is a topic that just by virtue of you signing in today and taking the time to be here means that you care, means that you want to give, means that you want to be an effective giver and have a great impact on the world. So we recognize that and thank you for that. This next slide is a quote that I love. It's one that I've used for years, and it's one that I always attributed to Winston Churchill. And I've recently found out it is not Winston Churchill. I think what people did was they paraphrased this quote by Winston Churchill that was actually Winston Churchill. But as we try to do in our day and age, we like to make things quick and to the point, and we try to keep them under 140 characters these days. So thus we've shortened that quote. So let's get this party started and start talking a little bit about how you can become a more effective giver. The first 4 or 5 tips are about traditional giving, about giving money to charity. And my basic thoughts here are that you don't have to be a Rockefeller or a Gates to be a smart philanthropist. You just have to have good intention and some discipline and really be thoughtful about it. And so you'll see with my tips, I tried to be a little cheeky to make it a little more interesting. But the first one is put your passion on paper. And what I really mean by that is create a giving plan. Think about your giving. So many of us end up becoming reactive, and we end up engaging with charities because of some other reason other than that's because what we care about. I think around Thanksgiving and the holidays, and we're coming into the giving season, it's a great time to get together with your partner, with your family, with your friends, and think about what is it that matters to you? What are the causes that you really care about? What are the things that you're passionate about that you should be spending your hard-earned dollars on? And create a plan. Think about, is it one cause that you want to be really focused in on and put all of your money, volunteering efforts, etc. into, or are there a few causes that you care about? But put them down on paper and think about them. It is so easy to get caught into the trap, and I do it myself on, Bill in marketing is running a marathon and wants you to support this charity that you really don't have any passion for, but Bill asked and you should give $100 here, or your boss, she has her pet charities and she's always buying tables at galas and you have to show up, and so therefore you end up giving to that charity as well. These things can be great and fun. As a reminder, when you do get invited to a gala, they usually are your boss is thinking that you're going to give, or donate, or buy some sort of silent auction item while you're there. And so you want to be careful about, what it is you attend, and does it align with your values. And if you only have a certain amount of money put towards what you're trying to impact, then sometimes you just say no. Sometimes you can just say no. So when you're thinking about your plan, it doesn't have to be too detailed. You just put down what you care about, what are the causes that you're going to research and think about, and then what is the impact that you want to have. A lot of people choose charities, but they don't think about it from their personal standpoint of how do I want to define my impact and my family's impact on the world. And so it could be as specific as we want to eradicate childhood hunger in inner city Baltimore, or as broad as we want to see an end to poverty. You could be interested in finding a cure for a disease that has affected your family or friends. You could be interested in something as big as Stand Up for Cancer, and you think that's a great organization, and you want to get behind something like that. The bottom line is be intentional, have a plan, yet remain open to new innovations and new opportunities for impact. So that is number 1, your giving plan. I'm laughing at my own joke. Number 2 is all about the Benjamin's baby. Like you would with your spending of your discretionary income and other income, create a budget. So think about how much it is you want to give every year. Do you get to the end of the year and you tell your accountant, I'm not quite sure how much I gave to charity this year. Let me count up all my receipts and all of the thank yous that I received and all the receipts I have from donations, and we'll put the number together. It's better to actually think about that at the beginning of the year and create a budget. Is it a percentage of your household income? Do you back into it based on what it is you want to deduct from your taxes? Is it just a set dollar amount per year that we as a family or an individual, we're going to give to the causes that we care about? And so thinking about having discipline around your budget and thinking back to your plan and the organizations that you want to support, what percentage of your budget should go to those organizations? Do you want 100% to go to, of your giving budget to go to those causes, those 1, 2, 3 causes you care about? Or do you want to say, you know what, we'll do 75% towards our big impact causes, and let's keep 25% of our budget for opportunistic giving, because we want to say yes to Bill in marketing when he asks about a marathon, because we want to be able to be responsive if there is a earthquake or a crisis, a world crisis, that we want to be able to be reactionary to and give money. But just think about how you want to spend your giving dollars and create a budget for that. And then think about based on the size of your budget. So I'm sure we have people that are dialed in today that have varying amounts of money that they have discretion to give to charity. If you have a small monetary budget to give to charity, do you want to think about smaller organizations where you can have more impact? Or do you want to be part of a larger group giving to the same cause? If you have a big budget, do you want to think about the causes that you care about, and think about various size organizations that you can impact that are committed around the same thing, perhaps from advocacy to research to action, and even sometimes the supply chain organizations for that issue. So think about it more holistically on how you can affect multiple organizations for the same impact. And then as we're thinking through budget and finally thinking through some of this, maximizing your budget. Some of this is obvious. Everyone should know if you work at a big company and there's a company match, and find out if they will match your donations to the charities that you care about. And then other organizations from time to time are offering matching. Today on Giving Tuesday, I think I've received dozens of emails from organizations that I've been involved with over time, and saying that other companies are matching, or someone's going to match if you give money today on Giving Tuesday to that organization. So be opportunistic at times like today, and other times where there's an organizational match, so you can double your impact. And then just the last thought, because oftentimes we think about this as investing. In investing, you think about diversification because you want to diversify. Sometimes in giving, diversification isn't what's going to cause you the most impact. Sometimes being focused and targeted is what's going to allow you personally to have the most impact on something you care about. So that's number 2. So we've created a plan, we've created a budget. The next step, I have what's in a name here. And so there's an organization called the Children's Charity Fund. And I should say today I probably will mention a bunch of organizations. I'm not promoting one over the other. I'm just using examples. But there's an organization called the Children's Charity Fund. Now, how could something named that be bad? Well, in fact, the Children's Charity Fund has been listed as a bottom 10 charity, or one of the top 10 worst charities in the United States for the last 10 years. And why is that? Well, it's because about 6% of the donations actually go to the programs, or actually get to children in need. Over 70% of the money that is given to the Children's Charity Fund goes to professional fundraisers. And so this is just an example of egregious example of why you need to research charities that you're giving to. Now, if you're giving to the American Cancer Society, or American Heart Association, or a big hospital, or things that obviously are in good standing and well respected, the Red Cross, that doesn't necessarily need your research. But as you're thinking about causes and smaller organizations you care about, you must do the research on them. There are resources available. Charity Navigator is a great website that ranks and rates charities. Give.org is part of the Better Business Bureau. It's what I think is the charity arm of the Better Business Bureau, and they talk about and rate and rank charities. The organizations that you care about, when you find them, go to their website. They should have financial statements and annual reports available. And then also, if you have a ton of time and are, or maybe even just need some sleep, you can read the 990s, which are the tax filings of every charity, which are available to be seen by the public. What I would warn here is that, your neighbor John the dentist is probably not the best resource for solid info on charities that you care about, and telemarketers calling you to pitch you on a cause are almost never good sources for research for a charity. A few more tips and ideas when you're thinking about research. You want to think about organizations. What I always say to people is think about organizations that are trying to put themselves out of business. Maybe it's an organization that is trying to eradicate a disease. Maybe it's organizations that are creating sustainable models for poverty and hunger alleviation. You want to think about organizations that are trying not to just throw money at a problem, because then they'll just be throwing your money at the problem, but trying to really solve and create markets that will ultimately solve societal problems and take the pressure off of donors and the government and other people that are donating to them right now. I think microfinance is a great example of using, proven business practices to solve social issues. So I say find organizations that are trying to put themselves out of business intentionally by doing good, but conversely, you should stay away from organizations that may be putting themselves out of business inadvertently. Poor management, a single point of failure in a founder or celebrity endorsement, bad financials, brand new organizations that can't stay afloat without your donation, organizations that are constantly in the red. These are all places that you should probably steer clear from. I can give a couple examples of great organizations or charities where I've given my own money and they've gotten themselves in trouble. Lance Armstrong, the Give Strong Foundation, is they're doing great works, and being attached to a single celebrity or founder can hurt them, or did hurt them. So you want to think about not getting caught in the celebrity trap and going for an organization based on the good work it's doing, and then if something does happen, make sure you pay attention that they're still doing the good works. As an aside on that point, because I do like to talk about the celebrities and giving. It's something I've always, some people can be cynical and say, what does Angelina Jolie have to do with this charity, and why is she out there talking about things at the UN and this and that? Well, first of all, she's highly educated on what she cares about and is a great spokesperson, and I think deeply cares. I don't know her personally. But how can any celebrity that wants to draw attention to a great cause be bad? I think they have a public platform. It's great when they use their celebrity and platform for good. And I think that they can attract, I think, if the Kardashians can attract a whole subset of people that were never going to think about charity to charity someday, that's good for me. But what I think, as individual givers, and to be more effective givers, what you want to do is try not to be dragged into an organization or caring about something because your favorite celebrity does it. So that's just a public service announcement from me on celebrity and giving. So back to our research. So fraud does exist. So you want to do the research. Following major crises usually is when people start creating fake charities or raising money for false reasons. You'll always want to pay attention, following these crises, on where you're giving your money. And then the last I would say, and this is a little more subtle, but oftentimes people, when they're doing their research, I think the first thing anyone ever heard about a charity is, check out its overhead and make sure that they're not giving, that they're not spending too much on fundraising or not spending too much on overhead. That is a very relative number. What you want to make sure is that the company has effectiveness, it has results, it has or the organization has transparency. They've got great potential for ongoing success. You can't just look at one figure and make a determination. Now, if you look at that figure and people are spending 70% on professional fundraising, then you know that's a red flag, and that's not an organization you should ever give your money to. But if a company is 15% versus 5%, you want to think about what the entire picture. As we're trying to get more and more nonprofit organizations to act like for-profit companies, to be competitive, to think about metrics, we want to give them the leeway to to spend the money in the way that they see fit for the sustainability of their organization. So that is that's a few tips on doing the research and doing it properly. Number 4, and I'll move quickly through this. I wrote, get off my asset. What that means, what I'm talking about here is what and how you give matters. And this is for donors who are giving thousands of dollars away every year. What you give and how you give matters. What I mean by what you give, I mean what assets that you're giving. If you're giving tens of thousands of dollars after tax cash or credit card to charities every year because you want the points, that is great. But you also, for your own tax effectiveness and financial well-being, could be giving other assets. So when you have a larger amount of assets, the planning becomes more important. If you think about, you have brokerage accounts and appreciated stock that you got, whether you're at a company or you've held for many, many years, and you have a big capital gain in that stock, instead of giving cash every year, what you should do is donate shares of stock to your charity. Most charities are set up to take, the very small ones maybe not, but most charities are set up to take publicly traded stock, and it's very simple. And instead of giving $1,000 of after-tax cash to a charity that you've probably worked to make $2,000 to net that $1,000. You can give $1,000 worth of appreciated stock, avoid paying the capital gains. Your original investment in that $1,000 could have been something like $25, and the charity still gets the same amount of money. You get the tax deduction for the same amount of money, and everybody wins. So thinking about the different type of assets that you donate to charity is very important. And then the other point here, and we could have another hour-long giving discussion about plan giving and using private foundations versus donor-advised funds versus charitable remainder trust. We don't have time for that today, but my point here is to be more effective giver and more financially savvy. Giving the right asset and thinking about the right vehicle makes sense. And what I mean by that is, do you organize yourself in a donor-advised fund? Do you use a private foundation or some other type of giving vehicle to maximize your impact and maximize your giving over time? Okay, so that's the 4 tips that I thought I would cover with the basic cash giving. Again, there's a lot that we could say about all of that. I was just hoping to give some simple tips that you could apply to your giving today. As we get into this next section here, I've entitled it "No Cash, No Worries." So what are the other things that you can give and be more impactful in your everyday life for the causes you care about when cash may be a little tight? And so have no fear, you got skills. So an interesting story or thought is I worked at a organization, I would call it one of the most prestigious investment banks in the world, and every year many of us got together and went and either built a house with Habitat for Humanity or went to an inner city playground and painted it and cleaned it up and did all these wonderful things. And it was a great team building exercise, and we felt great about it, and the people were very thankful who were receiving this help. And that's great. There will always be a need for volunteers. There will always be a need for someone to hand out water, hand out food, and help people. But if you really want to be effective and you really want to have impact, the most impact on the organizations and causes you care about, you have special skills that organizations want to use. So instead of being a great finance person or being a great marketer or being a great fundraiser and going and building a house, you should be leveraging those skills and saying to the organizations you care about, I'd love to help you with your marketing plan. I'd love to help you look at your finances. I'd love to help you. You fill in your skills there. And so this concept of skills-based volunteering is one that is growing, and it's great. Companies are getting behind it and being more efficient about the way that they donate their employees' time. And there's organizations that actually are providing matching for this. So if the charities that you care about don't need your skills, there's organizations like Catch a Fire and Points of Light that will help you find the appropriate organization where your time and your skills can be put to really great use. So that's just a little shout out for skills-based volunteering and being effective in how you give your time away. What else can you do? You found a charity that you loved. You've done your plan. You know where you want to give your resources, and you just don't have enough of the Benjamins these days to make an impact. So what else can you do? You can lend your network. You can tweet. I put an example of a tweet out there, Giving Tuesday. You can post things about the organizations you care about on all of your social media sites. You can pin, you can post, you can tweet, you can do things for the organization to help spread the word and spread the awareness to others that may have more financial resources than you at this point. You can also introduce your favorite organizations to your network. And the reason I say nicely please is no one wants to be spammed, and everyone has things that they're interested in, but there are still many, many people who haven't been as thoughtful as all of you on this call today about the causes they care about. So maybe they would like to hear more about the causes that you care about. So you can always be helpful to an organization. You can even reach out to the organization, reach out to their development people and say, how can I help you? I want to be helpful in other ways than just giving you money. Here's a little bonus tip, and I think this is also a great trend that's been coming more into the light these days, which is future potential gifts. So if you also want to double up and have more impact with the causes you care about, and you have a birthday coming up or a holiday or a wedding, instead of having people give you gifts, ask for donations in lieu of gifts. And this is something that's great, and I think it's been growing. And if you think about the millennials and that generation, they've been very thoughtful about giving and leveraging these types of things for their philanthropy. Okay. So the next couple tips fall under the heading of living and giving. How can you in your everyday life make an impact or have a greater impact in what you're doing? And I think one that people talk about a lot and isn't lost on anyone, but I think drawing a little bit more attention and thought to it might make some sense. And that is your spending. How can you be a conscious consumer? And what are the things that you do that you're doing anyway? Buying holiday gifts right now. When you're shopping, how are you spending your money? Are you thinking about companies that give back? I remember this was probably 2008 or 2009 when Product Red started showing up everywhere and around the holiday season, and just by buying something that had Product Red on it, you were helping put an end to HIV/AIDS and working with the Global Fund. And so just by purchasing something like an iPod Shuffle that you were already going to buy, your spending had an impact in a larger way. And so that is something, I think this is another huge trend, which is I think is great, that there are more companies that in their everyday business, a percentage of your purchase goes to charity. There's the buy one, give one, like Tom's. Every time you buy a pair of shoes from Tom's, one gets given to someone in need. Lots of organizations are planting trees based on what you purchase from them. So there's a way to think about, hey, if I'm going to buy something, why don't I make sure that the organization is also doing their fair share, and in that way, creating more leverage with my spending dollars. This is a very big trend for millennials who care very much about the companies that they buy from, and I think that is a great thing because it's causing more companies to be ethically conscious in their practices. The other thing that I think about is not spending for impact. So how do you not spend money at a store if you don't believe in some of its practices? I will give you an example. I love Target. I have to admit, I love it. Every time I go there, I find more things that I don't need that I can buy. And the fact that Target had a security breach and gave away my credit card information, that couldn't stop me from going to Target. But when people in Target were allowed in some states to open carry automatic weapons, I could no longer, in good conscience, go to Target. I was one of those people that just I didn't go there until they changed that practice. And so those are things that you can do to send messages to companies that, you know what, I'm someone who cares about what I buy. I have some causes that I care about, and I'm not going to spend my money with you if you're going to act that way. So that's just another way of thinking about leveraging your spending or not spending for impact. Another fun one to talk about is, and this is somewhat related here, but I thought I'd just throw this in, is the dollar checkout, the dollar at the checkout counter. And I wish this was more interactive, and so I could hear people's reaction to this. But how do you feel when you're leaving, Rite Aid, and they're saying, "Will you give $1 for XYZ cause?" And you've got people standing in line behind you looking at you like, are they going to be cheap or are they going to give the $1? And it's one of these interesting new fundraising methods that, it's a win-win for the charity and the company, because the company gets to look like they're doing good. They get to then take your dollar and everybody else's dollar and give it to the organization, and then report that they've given that much money to the organization. So the company looks great, and then the organization does well. They did a study in 2012, I think it's 63 organizations at big box stores. So 63 charities received these kind of donations the checkout charity at big box kind of retail stores, and the charities raised over $340 million from this. So, there is power in the dollar and collecting them from multiple people, and it's for good. So that's money that's going for good. I think the thing to think about is maybe you don't have an extra dollar, or maybe that charity is nowhere in your giving plan and you don't want to give to them. It's okay to say no. It's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. You can say no, and it's also okay to support. I think we'll continue to see new types of fundraising and other ways that when you're clicking, checking out of any site, that you'll be solicited for donations, and that to me is it's a personal choice on whether or not you want to give your money to that charity, and B, promote that type of giving. So it's an interesting way of thinking about it. Go. Here we are, number 8. This is so I could keep your attention if you're still listening. But number 8 is alcohol, guns, and tobacco, and this is just these are areas, guns and tobacco first and foremost, which were and oil, I should add up there, where people started thinking, wait a minute, if I am a avid environmentalist and I spend all of my charity dollars, all of my volunteering time, and everything I do is to protect the environment and diminish climate change or what have you, and then I go look at my 401k and I own all these oil companies, so I'm basically investing my money and working against all the work that I'm doing on the charitable side. This doesn't make any sense. So one of the ways, and this isn't necessarily giving, but one of the ways that you can have more impact is think about your investments and think about how you, and think about what companies your investment dollars are being put into. There's we could have another whole hour on this type of thing and talk about values-based investing and impact investing and ESG and SRI, and so this whole industry around helping people invest in companies that mirror their values. So it's something to just, I put it out there as something to think about, as individuals who obviously care and are trying to, have the most maximum impact in your life and with your assets. Thinking about how you invest is important. Number 9, we're getting down to it. Number 9 is I wrote work it. So another, your biggest asset as an individual is your paycheck and your work, and your biggest resource is your time, and this is where you spend a lot of it. And so if you're really thinking about how do I make an impact in the world, and I sit here at my job and I don't like it, or I am here at my job and I don't know what my company does for social responsibility or giving, you can find these things out and pay attention to them. I'm not suggesting here that people that want to be impactful have to quit their job and start a nonprofit or go work at a nonprofit. That's not the case at all. But there are ways that you can have a career that has more impact, whether you stay at your job and talk. Ooh, there's a nice spelling issue on that. Sorry. Stay in your job and work with your company on their giving plan, or participate more in that, or become, an advocate for smart giving. That is something that we all can do, and you'd be surprised. Your company will, I think, appreciate it if you've put thought into things that you care about or things that you think align well with your company's mission. They'll listen to you about being more effective at their giving and their social responsibility. So add it into your work. Okay, so I hope we've gotten more than 9 tips by this point, but um, here's the last one. What can you give? Giving thanks, gratitude, and kindness are great things to give, especially this time of year when people are feeling a little bit hassled. Some people have a tough time at this time of year. Giving thanks and kindness, it's totally free and it totally works. And I think you'd be surprised how being grateful and gracious and kind is contagious, and people around you will continue to do the same. One of the things I think about in New York City, instead of when I get into an elevator, instead of looking at my iPhone and texting and getting on Twitter, look around you and smile at people and wish them a good day. So that's a small way we can impact someone's day, but I think it can have a larger effect. So those are my 10 tips for being more effective and more impactful on this here, a wonderful Giving Tuesday. At this point, I'm going to stop this and put my face back on. Oh, there we are. And thank you all for coming. I'm not sure if this is open and available for questions. Maricela?
Yes, it's available for questions. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
In the Q&A, there's actually one. If you click on Q&A, you'll see it says, "Thanks for a great presentation. Do you recommend blogging about worthwhile causes? And do you think that's a good way to get the word out?"
I think blogging is a great way of getting the word out, and I think anything that is searchable, because I know for myself, if I'm looking for a cause or looking for an organization that does a specific thing, I will Google it, and if there's a blog out there that has that topic in it, it will get picked up. So I think it's a great way of getting the word out. Any other questions? Let me check this here. Oops. That was what I wanted to do. Okay, well, I think that's it, and I appreciate everyone's time today. Again, if you would like to reach us, we're at ellevatenetwork.com, and we appreciate you spending the time, and have a great Giving Tuesday. Thanks.